Hello, you guys. Welcome to the With Fikayo podcast. My name is Fikayo, and thank you so much for having me in your ears. All right, so this episode is titled You Have More Time Than You Think. And before I get into this episode, I want to say who this episode is for. So I'm in my mid 20s, and I know that around this time there's a lot of timeline pressures, whether that be career, life, maturity, marriage, any of that. And this episode is I guess supposed to talk about like how I'm processing my timeline pressures and maybe how you are as well. I think this podcast is going to give you a different look on maybe our 20s and how we're supposed to experience life, or at least how I'm deciding to look at it. And I know it's going to be a little different. So I'm excited to go into this episode and talk more about, I guess, what I've just been learning with timelines and just learning about my placement in life and being content with that. And still, while being content, creating maybe timelines for myself, not necessarily societal timelines, and then also making sure that I'm living a life where not only am I content where I am, but also I'm building a personal timeline to where I would like to go. So I think it's obvious that I have been thinking a lot about time, not necessarily productivity and how to manage it better, but just time specifically. And for the sake of this episode, time as a concept. It's funny, as I'm getting older, I know my age, right? I see my age change, but I'm like, I still find myself looking around in the room when someone says there's an adult because I don't feel like that's me. I still feel like I'm learning, and I don't know how to, I don't know, maybe that's a bigger idea, a bigger concept, right? But how even while you're learning, time is going, and you're maturing, and you are gaining your own experiences, and you're becoming more responsible. But it is recently hitting me that, oh my goodness, I am the adult in the room, and this feeling feels strange. And I think I'm just wondering if anyone else feels this way. And I think part of it is when you don't see the shift happening in real time. But when people look at me, they don't see someone who is figuring out. It's insane. People see me as a woman, like a real functioning adult. And that disconnect still surprises me because to me, I'm still like the 5-year old, still trying to like piece it all together. And I catch myself thinking, I have not figured this out. And I'm not sure if there's ever a moment where anyone feels like they figured it out. But I know that at 25, I don't know, I thought that things would feel a bit more solid. And I think this belief is what creates the rush. I remember reading something, and the woman said that she didn't feel like she was a woman until she was like 30 or so. And I guess that just stopped me in my tracks because it made me realize that, well, these timelines can be timelines, but nothing can take away the weight of the experience. Nothing can take away the weight of the time. Nothing can take away the weight of how much you learn in that time. And I guess maybe, especially if we're talking about timelines when you're a certain age, there's just things that happen. There's experience, there's lessons that make that age feel the age, because maybe you should have just gone through things. Maybe you should have just understood things. And I'm trying to, I guess, in this process, in this time, as I'm thinking about time, as I'm contemplating time, creating healthy timelines for myself. Timelines that aren't rooted in timelines, not rooted in dreams or fairy tales or what I thought while growing up, but rather timelines that are achievable, timelines that I can obtain, starting literally where my feet are. I remember when I was in my last job, I remember I was in school, and I was still living with my parents, and I didn't have a specific amount of money, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to set a goal for myself that I'm going to have my own apartment by the time I turn 25, and I'm going to be making this and this amount of money by the time I'm 25. And having this timeline, it pushed me, it gave me clarity, it made me stretch. I had turned a little bit over 25 before I reached these goals, but the only reason why this worked for me was because I was honest and I was doing the tangible things to make it work, like I was being in school. I was realistic about what it is that I wanted at the time, and I made a decision where my feet are. And this happened for me then at 24, but it's a lesson that I plan to continue to take with me as I turn 35 and 40 and 50. Not necessarily going by other people's timelines or what society deems should be happening, but literally making goals, making dreams based on where I am now, because there is time. I also read something recently that helped me zoom out even more. And it talked about life in phases. So from about 0 to 10, it said that we're kind of learning how to exist, and at that time, decisions are being made from us, from all different spheres, from our parents to our teachers. We don't have any form of autonomy, and all of the things that we need to know, I guess, are being given to us. From about age 10 to 20, that's when we slowly begin to gain independence. And life is still structured, but there's school, there's routines, there's expectations, and your parents, your teachers, they still have a say on what you do. But age 20 to 30 is a little different, because this is the first decade where you are learning to manage your life on your own. So when I think of it like that, everything makes sense. Of course, this feels unfamiliar. Of course, this feels messy. And of course, it feels like you're learning everything at once, because quite literally you are. For some of us, this is the first time where we start working. For some of us, this is the first time where we move and we live on our own. Some people have children. Some people get married. Some people, this is the first time we are really given the permission to steward our lives how we want to. And there is no roadmap for it. I think for me, it's realizing that the only true roadmap is the one that you give yourself. The only true timeline is the timeline that is created specifically for you. And at this age, at 25, I am truly just learning who I am. In this season right now, I am learning routines. I am learning systems. I am learning structure. I am learning discipline. And I even realized recently that I had to start giving myself rules, which is so crazy. Like literally, quite literally rules. Like the same way that my mom had rules in the house, I realized that, in my apartment, I need to start giving myself rules. Like I do not eat after a certain amount of time. And it's outside of discipline at this point, but it's giving me structure. I talk about it all the time, though, about how as I'm adulting, as I'm learning, as I'm growing up, I'm realizing that this is really about learning how to parent yourself. And recently, that's literally how I am now. So I started giving myself rules, like fruit in the morning, real meals, not fast food, structure around sleep, church on Sundays, not just because I'm trying to be strict, but because stability doesn't just appear, you have to build it. And that realization doesn't mean that I was behind. It meant that I was early in learning how to lead myself. And I think that that's what I want to bring here. Essentially, I don't know who's listening to this, but if you feel stuck, if you feel behind, if you feel like you don't know what you're doing, I feel like the best momentum is forward. You can never go back. That's unacceptable. You can't do it. But as long as you're going forward, as long as you're getting incrementally better every single day, 1% makes a cup full. So do your 1% today, and hopefully tomorrow you do your 1%, but it does accumulate. Stay consistent, stay disciplined, keep your head down. Figure out a timeline. Well, throw away all the conventional timelines that society might be giving you, and look at what you have in front of you and place your goals as to what's obtainable for you now. You are not running out of time. You do have so much time, especially, and I can only speak about if you're sitting in your 20s, because I'm in my 20s, but if you're in your 20s, you still have so much time to build. So build high, build strong, and build mightily, because it's possible. And then after that, you get another decade, God willing, to be stable. And then you get another decade, and then you get another decade, and then you get another decade. And all of this assuming that you live to 60. And people retire at 65. And I think that's the general awareness that I want to bring to you. Assuming we live to about 70, what is it? 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. We have 5 more decades to get it right. So although time does go fast and you do age and things happen, there is time. So build, okay? So just to do a little recap, What is the takeaways from everything that I said? Number one, it's that there is so much time. There is more time than social media makes it seem like. There is more time than comparison allows you to feel. Number two, run your own race. Your pace does not need to match everyone else's to be valid. Moving slower with clarity is better than moving fast with anxiety. And number three, urgency is not the same as purpose. Feeling rushed does not mean that you are called to move faster. Sometimes it means that you need to zoom out. And lastly, learning how to live takes time. And learning how to lead yourself also takes time. Do not be discouraged. It does not mean that you are failing. It means that you are learning. So learn. Okay, you guys, I'm done. I'm off the soapbox. But I do want to introduce you guys to something in a new segment I'm calling Dilemmas with Fikayo. This is a space where you guys can send in questions to me that you are wrestling with. Questions about timing, about pressure, about decisions, about relationships, about direction, about career, anything. And we will think and talk through it together. I'm not going to come from a place of having all of the answers or knowing everything, but I'm going to come from a place of honesty and clarity. And I hope that you guys are open with sharing your dilemmas with me. It'll be completely anonymous. We will try to do it weekly, but I want it to be real and I want it to be genuine. So, yeah. I guess before we end this podcast today as well, I have a question that I want to leave with you today. And I want you to think about this question and contemplate on it as I guess you go through your week. But where in your life do you currently feel rushed? And who set that timeline for you? Is it actually yours or is it borrowed? And if you gave yourself more time, what might that change? You do not need to have everything figured out. You just need to give yourself permission to be where you are and build from there. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much for having me in your ears. You guys know where to find me at Fikayo on Instagram, Fikayo. But follow with Fikayo because that's where I do most of my posting. Look down in the description below. We have sponsors, we have contacts, we have everything for you. Please like, comment, subscribe, share. Do all the things to help this podcast grow, but you know that I'm on your side and I love you so, so much. Goodbye.